Good morning, everybody. Great to see you. As Jonathan said earlier, things are not normal. And they're not normal here in the US, but they're not normal around the world for Jewish communities. And it is a privilege to have with us today 3 of our international partners representing their communities. Thank you for making all the way to New York, and thank you for your leadership roles in your communities. You have their bios in the app, so I will just introduce them very briefly. We have with us Yohan Benizri, that is the immediate past president of the Coordinating Council of Belgian Jewish Organizations, which acts as the political representative of the Jewish community in Belgium. We have here Mr. Claudio Lottenberg, Dr. Lottenberg, president of CONIB, the representative body of Brazil's Jewish community. But more importantly, both of them, Claudio and Yohan, are 2 of the 3 inaugural international commissioners to be confirmed to ADL's National Commission. So please join me in welcoming them. And we are also very honored to have with us Marie-Sarah Seeberger, Director of International Affairs of the CRIF, the political representative body of the Jewish community of France, and one of our distinguished French partners in the J7. So Yohan, let me start with you. In November, we had a delegation of ADL Global Leadership Council mission going to Belgium, and many left Brussels with a difficult sensation of the difficult situation of anti-Semitism there, but also with a glimpse of hope, because we were just about to witness a new government coming to place, and there was some sight of optimism. So there's a new government. What has changed since November?
It hasn't. There's a lot of hope that is often given to specific politicians or specific political parties. And I think it is a historic mistake, because in a very polarized society, and Belgium is also a very polarized society today, the more you invest in one political party or one particular ally, the more likely it is that you may be disappointed. And that is exactly what we have seen in previous governments. I'm not talking about the immediate past government, but the one before that. We were sure that it would be much better for protecting the Jewish people, to fight against anti-Semitism. And it hasn't materialized. And in this government, for now, it hasn't materialized either. I think ultimately the problem runs deeper than any particular government coalition. To me, the most important thing right now is for us to invest in checks and balances, to really try to make the point that it is not about whoever has the majority today. It is about how you protect your minorities just generally with the institutions that you have. The administration doesn't change. The coalition partners may change. But ultimately, if you don't have structural changes, and if you confuse democracy with majority-based decision-making, you're always going to have a problem. So again, we do have friends in the government. It is true that it is much better on paper than what we've had in the past. They have made it into the government coalition agreement that they would fight against anti-Semitism, and they have better wording, probably that is derived from regular contacts, including the delegation. But I don't think that it's the end of all things, unfortunately, in Belgium.
Thank you. Marie-Sarah, the situation in France, the political situation is also very concerning. So you had parliamentary elections in the summer, and we saw the rise of the far right and at the same time the far left, which the CRIF, the Jewish community, are seeing as extremist and as dangerous to the Jewish community. Can you share more insight on that?
Sure. So the political situation in France in recent months, since the European and then the legislative elections, has posed significant challenges for the French Jews. CRIF was created in 1943, in the middle of the Second World War. as a resistance organization to fight against political extremes and the drift of the French Republican values. 80 years later, CRIF remains firmly opposed to any political extreme. And today we have whatsoever no contact with the far right and the far left. Recently, the extreme left has shown itself to be the most crassly anti-Zionist, refusing to call Hamas a terrorist organization and feeding the hatred of anti-Semites with arguments they consider to be political criticism. And the extreme right, on its part, fools no one with its apparently fraternity with the French Jews and its exemplary behavior towards Israel. The Rassemblement National, led by Marine Le Pen, the daughter of the sadly well-known Jean-Marie Le Pen, the Holocaust denier, continues to embody the same values of xenophobia, racism, homophobia, and misogyny. And you know, even if suddenly the Rassemblement National were cleared of all suspicion of anti-Semitism or Holocaust denial, which is not the case today, they will still carry these threats to our Republican values. And we must continue to fight for it because we are French citizens, and more even so because we are French Jewish citizens.
Thank you. Claudio, the situation in Brazil usually, it's a feeling of carnival. I always have a smile when I think of your country. But unfortunately, post-October 7th, for a Jewish community that is strong and well-connected, the situation was quite scary, with a rise of 1,000% in anti-Semitic incidents in the month post-October 7th. How is the community dealing with it?
It's not a secret that our president has made very bad statements regarding the situation, trivializing the Holocaust, misunderstanding about what is happening in Middle East. The point is that he's a very popular person, and every time that he goes to the media and he says some comments, we observe the rise of anti-Semitism all over the country. We are still in a very good situation. We have important initiatives. One of them is with the ADL. You are working very hard trying to connect governors. We have 12 governors that have signed the agreement with IRA, what means that almost half of the governors are with us. I understand that we still have to continue with a very hard work in a way to lawsuits against those that are going to mention or make any movements. We have almost 40 volunteers that are working with us in the law department. It has been an important initiative because we know that every time that we can hear something that can be against us, we're going to give an answer. Today we have a new president in our Congress. He's a Jewish. We have a good expectation that things may change, but what can you observe? That we have already been in more difficult times, and we are not going to fail at this time.
Thank you. Let me ask you quickly a couple of questions about our latest survey of ADL, the Global 100. Yohan, I'll start with you because the situation there is really concerning. The average of Western Europe is 17%, but in Belgium, 30%, 30, of the adult population hold high level of anti-Semitic attitudes. How do you explain this?
I explain it because there's no strong foundational myth in Belgium. So basically, anything goes. There's no Republican values the same way as in France or anywhere else. What you have in Belgium is kind of a void. And so when you have a huge immigrant society from Muslim countries holding anti-Semitic views, you can actually have an effect on the whole population, especially if it starts on campuses and it is amplified on campuses. So, those young adults are exposed to those anti-Semitic tropes already when they're studying. Now, the other part of it is that we have let anti-Zionist rhetoric thrive to such a degree in the Belgian political circles that it fuels anti-Semitism to a degree that we do not see in other countries. It is probably similar to other countries in terms of anti-Zionism, like Ireland or Spain, but it's the combination of the two that is quite damaging in Belgium.
Marie-Sarah, I'm sure that you relate to part of what Yohan said. In France, the situation is much better when it comes to anti-Semitic attitudes, with only 13% of the population. But still, there's a higher level of anti-Semitic attitudes among the young adults, 18 to 34-year-old. What are you doing to target that part of the audience?
So it's true. We have the same results regarding the 18-34 years old frame. In an Ipsos survey commissioned by CRIF in 2024, it was observed that actually the 25-34 frame age was the worst and shared the most anti-Semitic prejudices. The survey shows that 55% of individuals of this age frame will express agreement with at least 6 anti-Semitic prejudices. This finding is concerning also because a long-standing commitment was already in place to target this age frame. I think one potential and probably easy explanation will be the amount of hateful content that you can find on social networks, and where this age frame is more spending most of their time. However, I think we should now address a more fundamental question of how we consume, understand, and interpret the news, the images, the sounds, everything that we see every day. And I think today we often neglect our capacity to read correctly a news due to probably a certain intellectual laziness. But I also want to raise awareness here about a very alarming trend of anti-Semitism regarding the even younger children. Reports indicate that children young as 9 or 10 years old are victims of anti-Semitic bullying in public schools in France. According to the report of the French Ministry of the Interior and the SPCJ, in 2024, 192 anti-Semitic acts were committed in public schools to children under the age of 12, which is more than 12% of all the anti-Semitic acts in France. Mm-hmm. So for several months, CRIF has been working with these Jewish students from public schools and gathering their testimonies. And from these testimonies, we've made a podcast, and we've actually now planning a big conference on the topic of anti-Semitism in schools in a few days, and it will be held in the French Senate. So it's a start, but I think we need to really start to be focused on this age frame because it's particularly alarming.
Thank you. Claudio, we're running out of time, but I want to allow you to say some final words on the situation in Brazil, and also what gives you hope in today's reality.
What gives us hope is that we are not alone. This is not a problem just related to our Jewish life. We are part of a minority, and this war that we have to confront right away is something against two kinds of words. One of them is the word that believes in democracy, free speech, and responsibility. And the other word is the word that belongs to intolerance, lack of freedom. And because of this, I'm absolutely sure that we can convince and we can bring together a lot of people that do believe that we can beat a world based in Jewish values. We are in the right side of this war.
I want to thank the three of you for your leadership and for inspiring all of us and feeling that we are not alone, we're in this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.